bring back paper ballots. This is why. Because they are more transparent than EVMs.
That was not the point of doing a ballot box. I am just clarifying once again.
I am just saying
Anish is going to get me in 10 kinds of trouble by the end of this podcast.
I am making sure you can interview nobody except for Mahavikas Aghadi after this. Because
I am glad that he has said his sinister intentions out on camera.
Four pillars of the NCP are Shiv, Shahu, Phule, Ambedkar. Right? Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, Shahu Maharaj, Mahatma Jyotiba Phule and Baba Saheb Ambedkar. These are, I think, the intellectual pillars of a progressive political ideology in Maharashtra. This has been a subject I am very passionate about because I believe that everyone in politics needs therapy. Just like everyone needs therapy. Yeah. Because you have to be very, very brave to do this without therapy because you will fail, crash and burn miserably. आवाज कोणाचा आवाज जनतेचा शारे दिशारे घुमला राष्ट्रवादी पुन्हा boss, poetry is written here. This song is the bop. This is Maharashtra's #1 hit. From the industry, ये तो Bollywood बन गया.
From the industry.
From the industry. Who's a 3 AM friend from the industry? No comment.
Hello and welcome to Politically Speaking by Lokatantra, where we make politics personal. Our guest for today is Mr. Anish Gawande, who was recently appointed as the national spokesperson for the NCP-SP, making him the first openly gay person to be the spokesperson of a national party. He is also the director of the Dara Shikoh Fellowship, the founder of Pink List India, and a graduate of Columbia and Oxford, where he is a Rhodes Scholar. Thank you very much for being on our podcast today.
Thank you very much for having me.
So for those of you all that don't know, Anish is actually the grandson of T.K. Tope, who is a very renowned intellectual, who was one of the men that helped Mr. Ambedkar draft the Constitution and the Hindu Code Bill. Yes. He was also the longest running Vice Chancellor of Mumbai University.
Longest running Principal of GLC.
And then also the Vice Chancellor of Mumbai University and the Sheriff of Bombay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Do you think this rich legacy of, social work in your family was the reason you joined politics?
No, because Azuba passed away long before I was born.
Okay, but you've heard stories and
Correct. So, surprisingly enough, I hadn't heard too many stories because I don't think anyone in my family had carried on that rich legacy. So they were not very interested in the academia aspect at all.
Okay.
It was only when his 100th birth anniversary came around, we had one big function to commemorate his birth anniversary when there were a lot of people who came and spoke about it.
How old were you during this?
I was 19.
Okay.
So that happened recently.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, oh, okay, interesting. This remarkable gentleman is also from the family.
Yes.
But even before that, I think it was always a question of giving back, of doing something different, and of contributing in some meaningful way. In a way that was interesting, exciting, but also purposeful. That drove me. I grew up in lots of stories of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. So you'll see that
big influence
everywhere. There's a Dharani Tarwar somewhere here, there.
But how did you pick politics to do it? There were many ways in which you could have done this. Why politics?
Chose me. Quite honestly, I thought I would be a UN diplomat. That was,
and you could have
if you ask, I was one very briefly. I worked at UNESCO for a little bit and then I was like, the UN is...
You worked at the Indian Embassy in Paris
as well. Correct. So I tried all of the others. Be fair, I really gave all the others
trial
a
and
good
error
shot.
To basically come here.
Correct, but I realized that ye ta kai fakta badbar. So then the only useful profession is politics.
Is that how you would describe your profession?
Listen, right now my profession is exactly that. What am I? I'm a 9 p.m. talking head on TV. Okay, my job is to go and say Namaskar Jai Maharashtra.
But don't you think so many professions require you to be good at badbad? Like I can think of a few.
So politics is a profession that requires you to only be good at badbad. The rest is ancillary. So I'm trying to become better at the rest. But the badbad, I've sort of gotten pat down a fair bit so far.
That's an extremely humble take considering the fact that you are also an academic.
Correct.
You have an extremely impressive set of credentials for what you do. So there's actually any number of other things you could have done.
So I'm telling you, it happened completely by accident. You know, I was in school.
Yeah.
For my 11th and 12th, I went to Cathedral.
Correct.
And that's where there was a circular passed around in school that Milind Devra was having a program called the Milind Devra Internship Program, where you would be able to volunteer as part of the Lok Sabha election campaign.
Okay.
So I was basically, as a 17-year-old, a door-to-door volunteer on that campaign, going very sweetly, knocking on doors and having them slammed tightly on my face.
That was your first ever
This was my first
interaction.
ever
Introduction to
This is 2014 Lok Sabha. This is the worst time in the history of the
Absolutely.
Congress party,
To be working for
especially in
Milind Devra.
Mumbai. And for Milind Devra in South Mumbai, where you were just being told to F off.
Yes.
And so it was the sweetest, nicest learning experience. I think.
And you were not by any chance perturbed by that. You were
No,
like,
I was very
is
determined.
fine.
I was like, Mr. Narendra Modi is bad for our country. Then I continue to believe that Mr. Narendra Modi is bad for our country now. And I was like, I will knock on as many doors as it takes. And so that's when I started volunteering with him. And then I ended up going to university. I went to the US. I was there for 4 years. And had sort of taken a break from politics, had come out by then, had sort of gone on a very different tangent and journey. And 2018, right as I was graduating, I'd been in touch with Milind as well, because he was supposed to come to the US with Rahul Gandhi at some point. I was organizing some event at Columbia. Those sort of interactions had happened. And then we were in touch and he said, will you come run my campaign? And I was like, Arey, I mean, I'm in New York City and I'm very out. And he said, so? And I was also like, okay, so I left I literally, before coming to Mumbai, I was in Senegal for 2 weeks because I was presenting a paper on Senegalese linguistic politics in the 1960s and Senghorian sort of grammar. And then I completely jumped ship and was in Mumbai. And 2 days after coming to Mumbai, I was told, Acha, the campaign hasn't heated up here enough, so you go with Ashok Chavan across Maharashtra. So a few weeks after that, I was on the Janasangharsha Yatra across Ichalkaranji, Pathardi, and
Oh my
all
god, that is a
over the
big jump
hinterland.
straight from
Yeah,
Senegal
fully.
to Ichalkaranji.
No, from New York to Senegal to Ichalkaranji.
Yeah.
That's
And
quite
so
something.
it's how it started, and it ended up being something super fun.
But do you think it's had an impact on your politics? I mean, the school that you went to in New York was Columbia.
Yes.
Then you've also been to Oxford. Do you think that academia has shaped or influenced your politics in any manner?
No, in fact, quite the opposite. I think I learned as much as I could in those brick and mortar buildings. I'm learning a lot more here. And the whole thing is, you have to be in politics if you're having fun. You know, if I didn't have fun, I would not be in Ichalkaranji or Pathardi.
I've heard you say this
You know,
off camera to me many times.
yeah,
as well.
like I really, listen, I am the worst South Bombay person you can meet, right? I hate nature, I hate the outdoors, I don't like anything that's not a city. But I hate nature. And everyone's like, Arey, sutti sati tikde jagah hiking, trekking. I'm like, why?
Fair enough.
I go to cities exclusively on holiday. I like being in a city. I don't like going to some
There's none of
far-flung
this like
area.
beaches, mountains,
No.
stuff.
काय करायचं? एक दिवस beach चालेल, one day trip and then you're done. But I think in politics you get to learn so much more. Like I would not know what soya bean is and why it gets sort of forgoed in unseasonal rainfall, or what the prices of cotton are, what Bolwan does, and why you need crop insurance, and why 1 rupee crop insurance given by the BJP did not reach 90% of the people it was given to. These are things that you don't learn in Columbia and Oxford.
I agree, but do you think, I guess my question is, do you think that education can have an impact on politics? Because we hear a lot of talk about the fact that lots of politicians in India are uneducated. It's been a huge part of the discourse and a huge part of the criticism for politics in India. So
Some
from
of the
that
smartest
lens, do you
politicians I
think-
know, some of the best politicians I know are the least educated. Some of the worst politicians I know are the most educated.
So do you think it plays a part or no?
No, I think it doesn't have that much of an impact. You know, now I studied linguistic politics and Senegalese linguistic politics, and now what direct relevance does it have? I think what really matters is what motivated you to pursue that education.
Okay.
Right? If you were pursuing something to push your boundaries, to develop a more open mind, to inquire critically, then that's what helps. For me, my education helped a fair bit because I studied comparative literature and then intellectual history and public policy. 3 very different things, but which have helped by the skills they've taught me rather than the content that they've taught me. The content doesn't matter. Now, something like comparative literature teaches you how to read, right? It's teaching you how to read not just text, but situations, events. How do you close read? Like you read a book, how do you read the Maratha reservation movement, right? How do
Right,
you read a sort of political movement? How do you read a law? How do you read the implications of that law?
Critical thinking, basically.
Critical thinking, but also a practice of reading. Something like intellectual history allows you to trace the history of ideas.
Yeah.
So what is the sort of origin of the OBC movement? What is the Mandal Commission's history? How does it engage with caste? What is the meaning of including Marathas under the OBC category? What is the meaning of expanding that category? What does it mean to have that 50% cap? These are important structural issues that you can have a different way of looking at.
Right.
But you have to bring that to the table. You know, in politics, the whole thing is you have to bring different perspectives to the table, and then you get a better understanding of that issue at hand. So I come with a very specific skill set, but others come with a very different but equally valuable skill set. And you can't do one without the other.
Yeah. So basically, has your your education and what you learned in college shaped your ideology in any way in politics? Like, how would you describe your ideology?
100%. So I am very much left-leaning. I think for me, the reason I came to the NCP also was because the 4 pillars of the NCP are Shiv, Shahu, Phule, Ambedkar.
Yeah.
Right? Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, Shahu Maharaj, Mahatma Jyotiba Phule, and Babasaheb Ambedkar. These are, I think, the intellectual pillars of a progressive political ideology in Maharashtra.
Right.
Ani, this is the varsa, this is the sort of heritage that you've been passed down. And for me, political ideology does not mean blindly following any of these people, right? I think it means a commitment to these political values. You're smiling, you're laughing at me.
I'm listening.
Varsa you heard and you're laughing, no? Bas. मराठी पण येतं आम्हाला. मी फक्त इंग्रजी सूटबूट घालून बसतो इथे. पण तिथे पाथर्डीमध्ये मराठीतच बोलावं लागतं. मजाक उडाया जाता हमारा देखो. But no, but it's true. I think the fun part is these are like alive ideals, right? This is and a project that I've been very passionate about is called Vicharvanta Maharashtra, which will hopefully crystallize whenever I have organizational capability and capacity, which is about what does Purogami Maharashtra mean in the 21st century, right? Okay. And these are very important questions to ask. Like, what does progressive ideology mean when you put it in conversation with AI? Right? What does it mean? What are the ethical questions raised by AI and how do you answer that with a progressive ideology framework?
Okay.
I don't care about Shiva Shahu Phule Ambedkar on reservation or any of these other questions. Those are important.
Yeah.
But they go so much more beyond that. What is the question of progressive ideology and what is its stance on privacy? Right? The right to privacy, which enshrined LGBT rights through the striking down of Section 377. You have to think through these issues as a question of progressive politics. How do you ask the question of fashion antar kai? What after hanging people? When it comes to women's rights in this country, you're just having this stupid conversation which is around hang this person, hang that person, without acknowledging the fundamental problem that exists. And you're not going back to the heritage that we've been passed down of these progressive thinkers to answer these questions. So ideologically, I think you have to go back, read and interpret and reinterpret. And it has to be a robust argument and discussion with all sides. And this is also why I like this party. You argue and debate with everybody. You go on Republic TV also, you go on Times Now also, you go on Mirror Now also. One of the most impressive people I've met across the course of these debates is Prafulla Ketkar, who is the editor of The Organizer, sits in Delhi. Man, I fundamentally disagree with. I have strong ideological objections to every point of view he holds. But you must be able to, the whetstone of reason, you have to be able to sharpen your mind on. Otherwise, you're going to be talking to echo chambers.
But like you said, like the party's ideology and matches your ideology. But how important is it for someone working in or working for a particular party to match with the party's ideologies and their stance on things? Like, how important is it?
You know, I don't. You can't ask this question in Maharashtra right now. You can't.
Exactly. That's why I asked.
Especially asking you for Maharashtra.
You can't ask that. महाराष्ट्रात विचारधारा नावाची गोष्ट राहिली आहे काय आपल्याला प्रश्न पडतो. But the reality is, it's not as simple as saying, do you believe in this ideology or do you believe in that ideology?
Okay.
The reality, unfortunately, is that after the anti-defection law, you are bound by a party whip. So the minute you join a party, you are joining its ideology whether or not you believe in it.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not a question of whether or not you need to align with the party's view, you will align with the party's view. Yeah. Right? So what matters today, unfortunately, and I really hope this changes because it doesn't benefit parties, it doesn't benefit people either, is what the top leadership thinks, right?
Yeah.
Because the top leadership is committed to a certain ideal. Then they will issue the party whip, and all your MLAs will agree to it. Right. Now the question of whether or not you should agree with the party's ideology, you're never going to find a political party that you're completely in agreement with.
Correct. Yeah.
But you need to be in a setup that acknowledges your point of view and has the ability to engage with your point of view.
Right.
And I think you're seeing that in some very difficult, very tortured, very contentious way on this side of the political spectrum, right? Where you're arguing like cats and dogs with each other, you know? You know, the Shiv Sena and the Congress and the Rashtravadi are arguing, "Arey, Savarkaran-baddal tumcha काय मत है?" And the BJP will keep asking us this question, "Arey, what do you think on Savarkar? Savarkar, Savarkar." When they can't think of anything else, Savarkar. But we disagree internally on what we think about Savarkar.
Yeah.
Right.
And there is capacity for that disagreement and conversation.
Yeah.
On that side, there is a diktat. This is what you have to think on Savarkar. Not tomorrow, I can recite Savarkar. Name Azashine, Parata Matrabhumira, Talamala, Sagara, Prana Talamala. I can read Savarkar's poetry while disagreeing completely with his political ideology.
Right.
That's possible on this side of the political spectrum. On that side of the political spectrum, you've lost that. So that's why parties like the BJP are impossible to join for someone like me, and I think for a lot of young people. Because you're expected to toe the line consistently, constantly, and without any contribution to the determination of that party.
So you're not allowed to think freely and argue with any of this.
Yeah, and sometimes that argument might mean that you disagree with your party leadership, and you make that known, and you acknowledge that at the end of the day, for something that is a party stance, they might have to win and sort of tell you what to say. But with your personal opinion, you're free to say what you want.
You spoke a little bit about ideology, and especially when it comes to Maharashtra. And this is a question which we get a lot at Lokatantra, which is, what am I voting for? Why should I vote today when I know that the person that I could vote for or the party could completely change sides tomorrow? What is it that you would say to these people?
So I think again, the unfortunate reality is post Anti-Defection Act, you're voting for what the party leadership believes.
Correct.
So if you have faith that the party leadership of the Mahavikas Aghadi is giving you a better alternative, a more progressive alternative, a more common sense alternative to the Mahayuti, vote for the Mahavikas Aghadi.
But what about if the Mahavikas Aghadi, which has previously been alliance partners with members of the Mahayuti, it's very possible that after the election they could change any number of possible permutations and combinations could come into play.
I think there's two answers to that. One is those who left have learned their lesson.
Okay.
And those who might leave have seen what has happened to those who left before them and will be much more careful about switching sides should the mandate be clearly in favor of one side or the other. I don't think you can see the same level of defections that you did with the first sort of government that was put in place by the Mahavikas Aghadi in a second government put in place by the Mahavikas Aghadi. Because one, there are just a lot younger faces. These are not young people who will risk their entire political career for one move. Remember, there are a lot of the people who got elected 5 years ago were 4-term, 5-term MLAs.
Yeah.
They're the ones who defected because they wanted to
Some
cement.
of them were getting into their last fights.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And, you know, for what it's worth, we make no personal attacks on the NCP-SP. We're a very sweet, nice party. They chose their path. Let them go where they did. They might have had compulsions.
Fair enough.
You know, some of them had lovely ED and CBI cases against them. ICE was against them. Income tax, CBI, ED. You know, so they went their own way. But the younger generation of politicians is not going to be taking things so lightly because they want to contest elections for the next 30, 40 years.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you think
They need more credibility.
They would make their credibility more valuable than anything else.
And their long-term prospects, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Particularly with regional parties, you know that the BJP is going to eat you up. You know that they almost came this close to throwing the NCP led by Ajit Pawar out of their alliance.
Yeah.
And only because of the Haryana election results, where even the NCP realized that if they broke away from the Mahayuti, they would get 0 seats, is when that alliance remained the way it was. So the reality is that they don't care about smaller partners. The BJP has had one agenda to turn Maharashtra into an MP or a Gujarat or a Rajasthan. They want to be the single largest player here without needing any alliance. So you're not going to see people go that side.
Do you think that is unique to Maharashtra? Would you say that is their agenda?
No, that's what I said. No, like they want it everywhere.
Okay.
In Haryana, you saw the same thing. They got the JJP on their side. they've destroyed the JJP. Dushyant Chautala, former Deputy Chief Minister, comes what? 5th in his election. So the reality is that smaller parties have also realized this. And the levels of defections you will see will be far lesser. And people are not tolerating this. The public sentiment is against this sort of breaking of parties. Regardless of whether or not they support the breakaway factions after or not. I'm not going to claim that
Sure, yeah, but
after the breaking away, everyone's come onto this side. But that's not true.
Yeah.
The reality is there have been people who
But
support.
nobody really took it well while it was happening.
Yeah, it just leaves a sour taste in your mouth. And so we'll see. हम देखेंगे.
Dekhenge indeed. But on that note, your queer identity has been a part of your journey so far.
Yeah.
Something that you've acknowledged publicly, something that your community is very proud of you for acknowledging as well. And during the last election, Lokatantra actually got to do some work with the Pink List. So I've
Yes.
seen the work that you've done for your community up close. Do you think your experience in politics has at all been different or colored because of your identity? Or do you think it's something which you hold more private and doesn't really affect public or professional life?
No, I don't hold it privately at all. That was the one thing that I was very clear about. I was like, listen, I'm not staying in the closet.
No, sure, but something that shouldn't affect public life. You know what I mean? Not that something that should be
Fair
kept a
enough.
secret, but
Fair
something
enough.
that doesn't affect your.
So for me, queerness has always been a lens, right, through which you view politics rather than a single point political agenda.
Okay.
Right? So how do you see queerness as holding space for these complexities that are defining politics in India today and Maharashtra today? Right? That today you are seeing a situation where the Maratha reservation issue has become a very burning issue where politicians across party lines are finding it difficult to reconcile OBC interests and Maratha interests. And these two communities have now gotten to a point where there is such animosity that it's playing out in social interactions. Now, queerness has faced this problem before because queer people are also OBC, queer people are also Maratha, queer people are also Dalit, queer people are also Muslim.
Correct. So that's why
So there's a
horizontal
strange
reservations-
thing.
Yeah.
No, but there's a very strange thing where you're acknowledging a shared humanity
Yeah.
and a shared bond, but you also simultaneously have to acknowledge that two of your other identities are at odds with each other.
Correct.
But because you have that shared bond, because you know that your sexuality is bringing you together, that you know that you faced a similar sort of persecution on account of your sexuality, you're more willing to see someone else's perspective and come to the sort of
There's
negotiating
more
table.
empathy.
More empathy, yeah.
when
There's
you're
more
looking
empathy and
at
there's an
all the
understanding of how to
marginalized-
negotiate these things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's lacking today. I think we've forgotten how to come together and come to the drawing board and negotiate competing interests. There's no black and white answer to this.
Yeah.
There's no right answer to a lot of the questions in front of us today.
Absolutely. I mean, I think
right,
there's
yeah.
very little about the human experience that is black and white.
Exactly. So you have to compromise, and that's what politics is about. Compromise, conversation, discussion, debate. And queerness allows you to get that sort of messy politics back into the realm of actual electoral politics.
No,
and I
fair
think
enough.
that's been really useful. And then it's been very fun. Yeah, I think you get
You're
to...
having a good time.
I get to have a good time. Then I get to wear colorful socks, which is the only fun thing that I can do on the campaign trail.
rocking
Otherwise,
them.
I have to
There
do
is-
this now. Like, and then I started wearing
How is
sneakers.
that received in rural Maharashtra?
You know, this started in 2019.
Okay.
In 2019, when I came back from New York and Senegal, my biggest problem was I did not have outfits. Because I was like, what do I wear?
But
I
do
had
you
no
think
clothes.
there is an expectation out of you to dress in like a typically political manner?
Yeah, but
Like, do you
I
think, it
think...
would be okay if you just wore, like now these are also your regular Anish clothes?
Yeah, so
know
I
that
really don't know what
personally.
regular Anish clothes are anymore. The last 5 years I've been wearing this. So, you know, now I also like sometimes my aunt asked me, I was in Pune right now for Diwali and she's like, "तू ये कपड़े का घालून बस तुला काय गरम वरम होत का खास नाही मला?" I don't know, like this is like my second
clothes for
skin
you,
now.
yeah.
Like this is
So what did you wear 5 years ago?
this is the outfit that was devised 5 years ago. So this
And
was
what was the outfit before that?
that was some stupid Gen Z outfit. Yeah, I was in college. I was wearing like
shorts.
like nice shorts. Yeah, I was shorts and a t-shirt person. Chapla short t-shirt and एक थोड़ी सी झोला घेऊन.
But do you think Maharashtra voters have the potential to accept somebody
I
like
think
that?
if I wore shorts, I would be cancelled. So that is the one thing I can't do anymore. That is the one piece of outfit.
But like any
I think not
politician,
just voter, you show up,
You
you
can't
show up
show.
anywhere in shorts and
You
there's
can't.
a
I
high
can't.
chance that
I
the
can't.
people, like,
Yeah, I can't show up in
whoever you're
shorts
meeting will
anywhere.
accept you.
That's a big problem. I did not realize this before joining. I was like, आता shorts नाही घालू शकत म्हणून मी दिल्लीत राहतो. तिकडे कोण बघतंय?
So there you wear shorts.
Weather
There
is
I
not
wear
allowing
shorts.
you to
Yeah,
wear
in the
shorts
summer,
for
what
half
do you
the year.
mean?
There is
In the summer, I'm
that's
wearing shorts. It's really funny because the other work that I do is I curate for galleries.
Yes.
And that is another place where you have to be very well dressed and
Properly
presentable all the
dressed,
time.
yeah.
Now, my problem is in Mumbai, who cares about the galleries and nobody cares about
Yeah.
what you're wearing. You can go in shorts. First meeting I had with a gallery in Delhi, I went in shorts, flip flops, and a t shirt. And the gallery just looks like this at me and says, "This is what you wear to a meeting?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm from Bombay, deal with it." It's like, "Kashala tujha hai?"
And what was their reaction?
Then it was loud. When you confront
I
that, it
can't
can't
even
happen.
imagine you in shorts, slippers, and
See, that's what I'm
t-shirt
saying.
anymore.
Anish,
Maybe we need to stalk him on Instagram for some old pictures.
God, there are still some.
I think he must have removed them
No, I
also.
haven't removed a single photo from Instagram. I've said,
That
bus.
is, you owned it. You were like,
I
"Okay,
owned
this
it. I
is
was
who
like,
I
now
want."
this is it, yeah. Now
This
you
is my
can't use it,
past.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Then somebody will be like, "Ye delete kiya." Why get into scandal and controversy?
No, that fair.
We'll leave that for later when I'm a little less relevant.
Later in life.
You know, when the hype
Not when
dies
you are the
down.
movement.
Correct.
So you can
correct.
actually
Right now
delete
there's
them to
been-
create that.
Yeah. I'll be like, "Arre." Get some scandal, na? Otherwise, what fun in politics?
This is you sounding like Ori now. when you say that.
Ori is our greatest teacher. Now, what to do? We must all learn from Ori.
That I agree. I fully agree. Okay, so to educate our viewers a little bit, tell us about what the present situation of LGBTQ rights in India is and how did we get here? If you were to give a snapshot of it to somebody.
So, I think the reality is that over the last decade, we've made a fair bit of progress on LGBTQ plus rights. In 2013, the Supreme Court passed its very regressive order saying that Section 377 was constitutional,
Yeah.
which meant that carnal intercourse against the order of nature or any form of queer sex was illegal. In 2018, the Supreme Court reversed that decision after the right to privacy judgment. Right? So that was a significant victory because for the first time, you had a court ruling in favor of LGBTQ plus rights at the highest level.
Okay.
You'd seen this with the Delhi High Court earlier in 2009, but this became a particular cultural moment. You'd seen years of activism and campaigning culminate in this significant victory, which also marked a symbolic win for the acceptance of queerness in all other spheres of society.
Yeah.
You know, the reality then was that you made it okay to depict queerness in Bollywood movies, to say that you can have sort of queerness in your school curriculums, to say that you should not be able to fire somebody from their job because they're queer. Now, fast forward to 5 or 6 years later now, we've reached a bit of an impasse, right? And I think this is what every community in this country has struggled with when they've realized that the courts can only take you so far.
Correct.
Yeah.
We've seen the marriage equality proceedings that happened last year, where there was a petition for marriage equality, a set of petitions for marriage equality that went to the Supreme Court, but unfortunately did not succeed. The court ruled against them, said that marriage equality is not something the court can grant, and threw the ball into Parliament's court. You've seen a lack of interest in Parliament to debate and discuss these issues. You know, when the case actually came up before the Supreme Court, Pinklist India, which is the organization that I run, which documents, and we've worked with Lokatantra and on Pinklist's work before, we presented a document to the court saying that for the last 10 years, the government has refused to act on LGBTQ plus rights in Parliament, right? And we showcased several initiatives taken by individual MPs like Dr. Tharoor, who had gotten a bill for Section 377 to be sort of read down, but also Supriya Tai, right? Supriya Sule, who's my own party leader, who got a private member bill for marriage equality, which was not even discussed in Parliament, let alone sort of rejected or opposed or struck down. So you've seen various attempts by well-meaning parliamentarians to take action on the issue, but you've not seen any tangible impact. So we're at a point now where the courts have taken us as far as they can. And the moment now is to crystallize that impact into some way, shape or form that is political.
Okay.
Where you have to be able to get the smaller victories and implementation of the victories that you get in court at the local level. So let me give you an example. Now, Ayushman Bharat, right, is the health insurance scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've now had the coverage of gender affirmation surgery for
Okay.
transgender persons under Ayushman Bharat. Now that is the law.
Yeah.
Because of the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act that the BJP brought in 2019. The problem is, most hospitals don't have somebody who can perform the procedure.
Yeah.
So what use is coverage when the procedure can't be performed?
Yeah.
Now for that procedure to be performed, somebody has to apply pressure at the local level at your district hospital.
Sure.
That can't happen through a court petition.
Yeah.
The most effective way to do that is through politics, because the person who's most relevant in the district is your MP or your MLA. Or even further down, your corporator.
Yeah.
So I think that's the step that we need to start taking now. That the implementation of these things needs to happen in the political arena. And simultaneously, you've seen a lot of people do amazing work on education, on healthcare, on anti-discrimination, and you'll see a lot of legislative pushes for that in the future as well.
Okay.
But now the time has come, at least in my opinion, to stop knocking on the court's doors. I don't believe in petitions requesting for rights before your lordships. I believe in making politicians do their job and demanding rights. And I think when you shift that discourse, you're not requesting, asking, pleading. You're demanding, agitating.
Using the responsibility is with the parliament now.
Parliament and the political class as a whole, I think we deify parliament too much. The reality is you're now entering a new age in federalism in this country, where you're going to realize very quickly that actually the central government is becoming less and less relevant. Your state governments will actually have a lot more power to decide what goes on in your life and in regulating the ability of ordinary citizens to lead a full and fulfilling life.
Why do you think so?
Primarily because the delivery of services now happens at the local level.
Okay. Sure.
I think these are such diverse scenarios that governments are presented with at the local level, at the state level, that there can't be a one-size-fits-all model. And you've seen that everywhere. A great example for this is climate change. I was recently at this conference on climate change, and there were, for the first time, thankfully, politicians on that panel. Sagarika Ghosh was there and I was there. There was somebody who heads the Tony Blair Institute in India. And the main conversation we had was that decentralization should be a climate change issue. Because you cannot have a solution for the Sundarbans being created in Delhi.
Correct.
You cannot have a policy for RA being created in Delhi.
Yeah.
You cannot have the same policy for Ladakh as you do for like Wayanad. That's just, eventually people are going to realize that this is stupid. Regardless of whether you want to hog power, this solution can't work.
Do you feel like there's been a sort of centralization or attempt to centralize?
There's been an attempt, but this government will fail at it. When the results stop showing, they'll fail at it. This is why I said, right, that there is a need to bring back common sense governance. You've had enough of stand-up India, sit-down India, start-up India, this, that India, like bus. Can we get to some common sense governance?
I like that.
How are you going to solve? Now, Mumbai's air pollution problems are because of construction dust.
Yeah.
Primarily.
Absolutely.
Delhi's air pollution problems are because of farm and burning. Now, how can you have the same climate policy and the air pollution policy for both these cities?
Yeah.
How can you have the same ministry sort of dictating to both cities what they should be doing?
No, that
So decentralization is an inevitable consequence, and you're going to see that reflected in every single aspect of your life.
Why do you think it's important for everybody to care about LGBTQ rights in our country though? Why is it a fight that shouldn't just be limited to the community?
One, because I think LGBTQ plus rights are human rights.
Yes.
Right? I think we're at a very peculiar moment in our country's history. Right? You're seeing a government that is attempting to become a benevolent dictator. They want to grant you rights. They want to give you Ladki Bahin schemes and 1,500 rupees. They want to show that they are so nice and generous and you should be grateful to them for everything that has happened. The BJP's ad is like, oh, agar hamari sarkar wapas nahi aayi to Ladki Bahin band ho jayegi. That's the rhetoric that's been pushed currently by this government, that you should be treating the government like God. Because after all, there are several non-biological leaders who are governing us today.
That was very well placed to shift.
Product placement.
Very,
The problem is that we have to go against this rhetoric because for the last 75 years, we have pushed, and every marginalized community in this country has pushed for a rights-based discourse. And actually, even before independence, you push for a rights-based discourse, where you are not being sort of indebted to the government for giving you rights. कोई उपकार नहीं हो रहे हैं.
Yeah.
Right? That you are getting your rights because they are inalienable.
Yeah.
The constitution, we the people of India give this constitution unto ourselves. This is not being given by somebody to us. These are rights that we have, we are giving unto ourselves. We don't need to get permission from somebody for those rights.
Yeah.
And you see that reflecting in other sort of policies and schemes that were passed earlier. Same policy of giving money into people's hands was a part of the Manrega scheme, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act.
Yeah.
It was a right to work scheme. It was not classified as a ladki bahin or ladka purush or ladka shetkari scheme.
Yeah.
You're not some favored person who's being done a favor. That's your right to work, and the government, which has collected taxes from you on GST from your sandal to your sanitary pad, is giving that money back to you where it belongs.
Absolutely.
So that's where
That I
LGBTQ
agree
plus
with you
rights
on.
comes in.
Fair enough.
Right? Because these are incredibly important social issues to fight from a rights-based narrative.
Okay.
And for the longest time, we've known in this country that I might hate you because you're a Muslim or because you're from a different caste, but I will never be able to say that if you are the bank teller or if you're the shopkeeper, I will refuse service from you or be able to say no to getting my check signed by you.
Correct.
That's precisely where an opposition to LGBTQ plus rights comes from. Now, what does fighting for LGBTQ plus rights mean? It means saying that, boss, if somebody is gay and they're asking you for a house and you're the landlord, you should not be allowed to say no.
Correct.
Just because they're gay.
Yes.
What does fighting for LGBTQ plus rights? It means It means that if somebody is a trans person, you don't have the right to say that they can't sit next to you on a train or a bus.
Sure.
Now that's simple. You don't have the right to beat them up.
What is it that ordinary people can do to help support the cause? What is it that everybody's individual responsibility to play as an ally is?
I think it's to recenter your politics and your personality into a politics of care. It means just caring. It means saying that, I don't, doesn't matter whether I believe in it or not. That's irrelevant.
Yeah.
If somebody is telling you, Arey, use he, her pronouns, Arey, just use he, her, she, her pronouns, use she, her pronouns. Yeah, क्या फर्क पड़ रहा है तुम्हें? कौन क्या उखाड़ रहा है? Like, this sort of moralistic tone that gets put in. I'm like, Arey, use na. Now, I'm the worst at this. Because I'm confused by Gen Z. I'm like, acha, okay, like...
You are Gen Z as well.
No, yeah, I'm not Gen Z.
There
yeah,
is,
I'm like...
you ask... I just
I'm
want to clarify.
1996. I'm 1996 born, which means I'm a cusp.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which means that I am millennial
Wow.
technically or Gen Z.
Technically you are.
But I am actually baby boomer at heart.
I thought you were 97 born.
No, I'm 96 born. But I'm a baby boomer at heart. I am like 70 internally. So I am very happy being this way. So I'm like, this Gen Z, I'm like, acha, like, you're like questioning your gender at 8 years old. Like, wow. But I don't understand it. That does not mean I don't have to accept it, yeah.
Yeah.
That is
Like, I'm like, that's
absolutely.
what am I doing?
fully agree with
like, you are happy now.
Yeah.
That's
There's
all that
many things
matters.
like that. I don't understand
Why
everything
is there
that they are
this feeling that this is a Western concept and that's why we need to
That's
not
the
accept-
funniest
Yeah,
part.
I
The
mean,
funnier part is for the longest time there was a movement that was built saying that actually homophobia is Western. Now suddenly people are watching that Canadian guy. Who's that right-winger? And that other guy. Are all these American, Canadian, right-wing podcast walas?
Oh, he's a
this is,
podcaster, okay.
no, he does these speeches and all also. But primarily people find him on YouTube. This YouTube nonsense has imported all these stupid ideas into India.
Andrew, no.
No. Andrew Tate also,
Andrew
that
Tate.
also,
Yeah.
and then that I'll find his name. We'll put. If you know, please put it in the comments below. He's a Canadian guy, psychiatrist. This is my like 21 question game.
For the camera.
Yeah. It's like
Comment
please
below.
comment down.
What was the ancient Indian take on?
No, gender and sexuality is very different in ancient India, right? I think you had a very different understanding of both gender and sexuality. But unfortunately, it was governed by the same structures of patriarchy and caste that govern a lot of these relations today.
Okay.
That if you were a Dalit woman, you did not have sexual agency. Regardless of whether you wanted to marry a Brahmin man or another Dalit woman.
Correct.
Right, so these are not structures that can be so easily interpolated with the past. This is where the history degree has come in useful actually. It's where I'm like, please.
Absolutely.
You know, because the problem is, and this is a lot of my undergraduate work was on this and my graduate thesis was on this.
Okay.
About this rhetoric, right, which the BJP uses very well, about a return to the past. This is the Make America Great Again ka India version. Make India Great Again. We invented the aeroplane also. We invented cancer treatment also. We invented writing also. We invented everything. Fine. If you're getting a daily fix of nationalism from that, let it be. But what is the purpose of saying we invented it? If the purpose of saying we invented it is to sit back and be very content and happy कि हमने कर दिया, अभी कुछ काम करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, then go ahead. If the purpose of saying that is to say let's innovate, let's actually get new ideas into the fray, then I support it.
Fair.
But that makes you a sort of black and white, boring, dull person with no ability to critically reason. You have to be able to question your past. That's where the ideological component comes in. Shiva Chao Phule Ambedkar means saying no, everything that happened in the past was not correct, was not great. India was not always great, and we can acknowledge that and still believe that the country is a force to reckon with, and it's a country that we believe in.
Of course, there can be no perfect past, present, or future, which is.
We can only strive for a better future.
What is it that you would like? What do you envision the future of LGBTQ rights to be? Where do you think we go from here as a country?
I think today you need to acknowledge that the fight for LGBTQ plus rights has to be a fight for equal rights for every single community.
Okay.
We're standing at a crossroads in India, right? I think we're standing at a moment where you're witnessing a politics of hate that has seeped into our homes. The future of LGBTQ plus rights is irrelevant if the future of a rights-based discourse dies in this country. The future of LGBTQ plus rights is irrelevant if you create divisions based on religion, caste, gender, creed that are going to be gnawing away at our social fabric.
Yeah.
So the reason LGBTQ plus rights are important today is because they represent a new form of allyship. They represent a new form of progressive politics. How do you bring more progressive people into the fold, right?
Yeah.
You know, so the Dalit Muslim consolidation that everyone was raving about in the Lok Sabha elections and the BJP was blaming for their defeat, that Dalit Muslim consolidation is not just a sort of caste and religion consolidation. It's a consolidation that comes from a belief in a rights-based discourse and a threat to that rights-based discourse. The minute you keep it only Dalit Muslim, that's the problem. But during the CA NRC protests that happened, environmental activists were there. LGBTQ plus activists were there. Women's rights and feminist activists were there. At a place like Shaheen Bagh and Mumbai Bagh, various movements came together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Workers' rights movements came together, and that's a tough negotiation, boss. It's not easy. They are not movements that have everything in common. But the fact that they can come together, argue, debate, discuss, sit on the podium, the fact that I could go after Mumbai Pride to Mumbai Bagh in my Pride outfit, in hot pink shorts that will not be worn again now in my politician era. But I'm in hot pink shorts, a t-shirt with like no CA, no NRC and a little rainbow jhola to Mumbai Bagh. And in a place that would supposedly be very conservative and that those on the other side of the political spectrum might have you believe is the most regressive and anti every progressive agenda, I face acceptance. People like 4-5 people wish me happy Pride. You know, so this is what the BJP doesn't know how to control. This is what the opposition needs to work on. This is what you need to build on through LGBTQ plus rights as well. An alternative political imagination. That's where LGBTQ plus rights is useful. The future of LGBTQ plus rights is that. The individual rights nonsense is something that will keep happening. That rights-based discourse will...
Talking about Pride, out of just curiosity, tell us about your coming out story.
Tell us about your coming out story.
That was something that we wanted to hear from you first.
You know, now... So I came out very anticlimactically initially. I went to Paris to work at the Indian Embassy and sort of realized that I could be somebody without anyone knowing who I am. And that's where I went to a nightclub and met somebody and I kissed a boy and I liked it, and then there was like my individual personal lovely coming out story.
Okay.
But then my coming out story that was the most important was to my family.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a joint family, which meant that my major concern on coming out was not how to tell, but who to tell. and who to tell first, because otherwise I will be yelled at for not telling someone else first. So I came out 2016 Diwali.
Okay.
Almost 8 years. Wow, I'm old. 8 years ago, with my entire joint family in Pune, my hometown, in Bhaner, as we were discussing, where my entire family was gathered around in a circle because my sister had gathered them to tell them that we have something to tell you. This is not a question. This is not a discussion. We are not asking you. Remember, we are telling you. At this point, they'd all thought that I'd gotten a girl pregnant. And I was like, God bless all of you. And
In
she was
comparison to
like,
that, then I feel like they might.
correct. They were like, Acha, great.
This
They
is
were like,
okay with
bas.
us. Yeah.
Very nice.
But I think there are some people who would be like, that is better. I mean, at least it's a girl. That's
you
the
get-
thinking
Fair enough,
behind it.
fair enough.
You got all kinds of people.
Yeah.
You got all kinds of people. But here, I think they were just a little relieved that I had not, as a 19 or 20-year-old, gotten somebody pregnant. But so then she was like, Anish, do you want to say it? And I was like, no, you say it. She
This
said,
is your
"Anish
older sister?"
It's my older sister.
Okay.
She goes, Anish is gay. Pin drop silence. And I am like dying at this point. I am clutching onto both of them. I'm saying what is going to go on. And then everyone goes, okay. Except my father, who goes, hey.
What were you expecting?
I had saved up money to run away from home. I am very dramatic. I'm like,
I know, but
fully,
this
my
was-
favorite movie is Jab We Met.
But they had no inkling.
They had no inkling.
Idea.
They had no
whatsoever.
inkling, no idea. So it's very sweet.
And the immediate reaction was okay.
Yeah, and then after that, my uncle said, we're a family that will stand up against our own to protect our own. Or we'll stand up against the world to protect our own. Sorry, I remember this line by heart, and I was like, when did you become so eloquent? इतना English तुम्हें किसने सिखाया? Like फाड़ कोकाटे तुम्ही कुठून आला इथे? I was like, what? But then it was very sweet. And then 5 minutes later, we all discussed how to get my sister married on the dining table. So it was...
That's great. Though.
It was very lovely. It was very lovely. And they've been super supportive ever since.
That's wonderful.
But
Yes.
what about the political community? Like,
You know, I think I have just been like, this is it.
जो है वो है.
जो है सो है, ले लो. And I think that's worked so far. I think you have to not give it more importance than necessary.
Yeah.
And you have to recognize and prove that you add value, and that if that value is to be added, then it comes with the queerness as well.
Yeah.
And there's
It's a whole package.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
But I've been very lucky. Listen, this party is the most progressive party in this country on LGBTQ plus rights. Hands down. Supriya Tai has been the most vocal parliamentarian supporting LGBTQ plus rights. We've had LGBTQ plus rights in every single manifesto that's been released since, I think, 2019. Even in the Lok Sabha manifesto for 2024, we had the longest list of promises on LGBTQ plus rights. We've got an LGBTQ plus cell since 2020 with Priya Patil heading it.
Yeah.
We've gotten multiple sort of people from the trans and queer community being members of the party. And you've seen a way in which the party has refused to let electoral compulsions or any sort of pretense of log kya kahenge come in the way of standing for what it believes in. And this extends right to the top, right? Even with Pawar Sahib, he's been incredibly supportive, right from his support for the women's policy in 1994, which for the first time, you know, the man is remarkable because he got divorce and alimony for women in 1994.
Yeah.
When you would not have been able to get those changes passed in any state other than Maharashtra, right? And you said that no, equal share in property, removal of a cap of 500 rupees on alimony, and a waiving of all legal fees when a woman gets divorced, right? And you also saw 33% reservation for women in government jobs. For the first time, you know, police force, I think there were 1,000 or 3,000 police women in Maharashtra out of 1.5 lakh police officers. The progressive measures that came in after the Nirbhaya verdict of a policewoman should always be present when a woman is being arrested would not have been possible without measures like these, because you would not have had enough police officers who are women.
Correct.
I think even in the defense services,
11% reservation for women in the armed forces. Supreme opposition. Supreme. There was like condemnation from all quarters, including from a certain political party that is currently in power. But the reality was accidents reduced. He got a survey of the Air Force accidents after, and he said actually accidents have reduced. So you've got a forward-thinking party that makes life easier. When your top boss believes in it, then you're like, you know what? Speak to my boss. Here's her number.
Right.
And that's as easy as it gets. So I think that's been a fun journey. I still get to wear colorful socks. I switched to Skechers recently because I hear they're relatable. The youth is wearing Skechers. I used to wear brown Oxfords. I used to wear like lace-up brown Oxfords
On the
the campaign trail. And in like the middle of nowhere, they've actually just gone for repair downstairs at the mochi you saw next to the office.
But I can imagine that going with the look.
Yeah.
It does. It doesn't go with your spine. Correct.
Relatable.
They're more relatable. Also, they protect your spine. They ensure that you don't like.
That's true, actually. Though.
Yeah, you can't walk for 5 hours and.
You could
brown
go for like a
Oxfords.
full sneaker vibe, but that would be a little much.
No, I'm trying to. Rohit Dada has now started wearing sneakers. And after Rahul Gandhi wore sneakers on the Bharat Jodo Yatra, ASIC stores across Maharashtra sold out. I was in Bhusawal for the Bharat Jodo Yatra, and in the middle of Bhusawal there were no ASIC sneakers because Rahul Gandhi was wearing ASIC. So I'm like, acha chalo, hum bhi thoda seekh lenge.
I think it's a good idea. I support this.
Yeah,
There's-
abhi Skechers ka main. Please,
Anish's
if Skechers
sneakers
is
there
looking
is-
here, please send some. वो ज़्यादा परवड़ता नहीं है तुम्हारा expensive. Hi, bloody hell, it's damn expensive. I was like, what do you mean? They're just some sneakers. They don't even look that good. Like, why are you so expensive?
We should have Skechers sponsor
You have
this
asked them to
episode.
send you.
Yeah, they look very good. They look very good. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, no, they'll.
Yeah.
Others think they look good. I don't need to think they look good.
I think they look great. Personally, in case Skechers ever wants to sponsor or come on as a partner, we are very happy to have you.
Very nice, very nice.
But like as you said on the campaign, you were in Bhusawal or you're traveling to Avarrsekar and all that. But like, can you tell us a bit about your job of a spokesperson? Like, what all does it entail? And
in exactly 45 minutes from now, I will be on that table right there with the TV unit doing badbad about Pawar Sahib apparently retiring and Yogendra Pawar being named his successor. So it really involves going on the primetime news shows whenever they.
But what does your day look like as a spokesperson? I mean,
I do not like mornings, so my mornings are very nice. I'm a very wrong person in this party because everyone else really enjoys their mornings. So Priyatai goes on a run, Pawar Sahib wakes up very early. I wake up leisurely. I read the newspapers. I keep up with the news. I have my chaha, have my breakfast. Then 11 a.m. onwards is when the real work begins. You're sort of tracking what's happening. You're doing whatever work is required with the party for that moment. Currently, that involves a little bit of helping individual candidates with their narrative for the elections, whoever's sort of asking, whoever's interested in getting a second opinion. It also involves talking to a lot of journalists. It involves calling everyone, be like, Kashyat, what are you up to? What's up?
but what is that for? I mean, just
Because you're the spokesperson, right? So they're also asking for inputs on what is going on in this seat. Can you connect us to someone here? What is the sort of response on XYZ? So it's maintaining a line of communication with the party, right? I think that's incredibly important. And post-elections, I think I now sit in Delhi, so you should come to that office also. It's very nice. And the goal is to create a way to share the party's ideology at the national level. So what does the NCPSP stand for? What are the ways in which we want to bring our own perspective on the Uniform Civil Code? What are the ways in which we want to bring our own perspectives on the Waqf bill? What are the ways we want to bring our own perspective on farm loan waivers or agricultural policy at a national level and engage with other regional parties and national parties as well? With the India Alliance, I think we're at a moment where we have to now start crafting, like I said earlier, an alternative political imagination.
yeah.
We've spoken enough, but the agenda can't just be we are against Modi ji. We are against Modi ji. We will be against Modi ji.
Is there a lot of reading though for you to sort of? I've seen you on television and
Yeah.
you're a gifted speaker. You're very
You're far
eloquent.
too kind.
But
Thank
is
you.
it a lot of like in the background reading and listening to other
It
people
is.
talk to
It
craft
is.
your opinions?
It is.
And the nuances of what you're being asked on television.
Well, there are no nuances to what you're being asked on television, unfortunately. So the reality
I
is
saw
there are
Mr.
no nuances
Goswami
there.
saying,
Correct.
Anish,
I really like him. I really like him. He's been very sweet to me. I think you have to engage, and you have to engage in good faith. And I think.
But I've also seen the spokesperson of the BJP actually compliment you on
Yes.
television.
That was a very nice moment as well.
Shahzad has
Mr.
complimented.
Purana,
Yes,
was it?
Shahzad has been very kind as well. And I think this is a different political culture that you have to maintain. I think I've always been a very clear believer that I don't want to yell.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be hurling abuses at somebody.
Yeah.
It's not who I am. I'll come to you with facts and figures, and I will very much acknowledge if you've done something wrong in the past or not lived up to expectations. And that's been helpful because one, the party leadership supports that stance. We've also been we've been a party that doesn't take personal attacks to the next level. We don't take pot shots. So that's been very good. But that does mean a lot more reading and actually bringing facts to the table. They're not always appreciated or actually responded to. But you try and put those out in the public domain. And I think you've seen appreciation. You know, like I've seen so many people reach out to me being like, oh, we're so glad you're speaking like this because we're finally watching TV again.
Yeah,
Which is true, which is great.
Yeah.
And which is nice because I didn't watch TV for the longest time.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
And if we can change that, that'll be really useful.
Yeah. But like, as you said, now you're in Delhi. And so do you get tired of the travel? Like continuous travel between?
You know, Ata, I am waiting for Modi ji to complete the bullet train from Delhi to Mumbai. So if you're listening, Modi ji, I've made lots of asides to the camera now. I really hope that they all reach these people. But
He'll be watching.
You are such a natural with the camera at this point. This is the most casual podcast we have noticed yet.
casual ही होना चाहिए ना podcast.
We're delighted.
हाँ.
But do your South Bombay friends understand your job
No.
properly? Like, what do you tell them? Like, what is it
I
that you
genuinely,
do?
they just keep laughing because I show up to parties like this now, which is really a concern because now I'm like, if I have to maintain a social life, now I have to start keeping a change of clothes also in the office because you're ending the day at 10:30, 11 once these stupid TV shows, etc. end. So I'm like, I have to come somewhere, then I'm coming like this. And everyone's just finding it really funny. And they don't know what I'm doing, but they're all very supportive, which I love.
That's
and
great.
I think I rely upon a lot of my very close friends who are completely not political for the
But
best
that's important,
advice.
I think,
That's the
to
best
remain
advice.
sane, I think.
Complete, not the best advice.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like this was rubbish, bro.
What do they need to do? Like, people are very intimidated by the concept of joining politics. How do we engage? What can we do?
You know, I think I'm struggling to create some sort of setup even within the party. It's been only a few months, but I think there are a lot of young people who've always said, oh, we want to help you, we want to join in some way.
Yeah.
And the reality is, you know, tomorrow I could say, come do Paksha Pravesh, we'll get 100 people of like a younger age coming and joining the party with Pars. I want to look good, great on camera.
Yeah.
But in good faith, I can't do that unless I know that there's space for young people in politics. And that space is currently being created in different ways.
Okay.
So the first way is there's been a professionalization of politics, right?
Which has been great.
So young people are entering as professionals.
Correct.
It's not necessarily been the most useful in translating into a career in politics.
Yeah.
Sure.
So somebody who's entering politics as a professional is not usually transitioning into becoming a politician.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Right? So that's not a change that we're seeing very easily.
Correct.
So that's not an advice, a piece of advice that I can give to somebody who wants to enter politics. I entered in some ways that way.
Yeah.
But the professional skill that I brought to the table was speaking and media, which then translated into a role as a spokesperson within the party. So I think if you want roles like that within political parties, then the professional to political route is easier.
Sure.
If you want to do Rajniti, my biggest advice today is become an influencer.
Okay.
That is a hot take.
It's a very hot take, but the politicians of tomorrow are going to be the influencers of today.
Which I can see. I can see the logic in you saying that.
If you have a micro level influencer, which a lot of influencers are becoming, right? You've
Yeah, of
gone
course.
beyond the era of the 5 million follower influencer.
Yeah.
If you have 30,000 followers in one geographic area, That's huge.
Yeah.
Followers who respond to you regularly, who relate to you, who are following your messaging, if you're keeping them interested, most politicians are failing through that. We've forgotten in politics how to speak to people.
No,
You have
fair
to
enough.
pay people to come to your rallies and listen to you. You don't know how to get people on your own.
But what were your steps? What is it that brought you to spokesperson? Like you said, you started off working in media with Milinji.
Started door-to-door volunteer,
Correct.
then worked on the campaign on everything. Right? Was doing some of the coordination for your door-to-door campaigns, deciding on some of the social media strategy, also doing some of the media bits. With Ashok Chavan in Maharashtra with the Janasangharsh Yatra, I was primarily leading the English press office, so ensuring press releases, etc. got out.
Okay.
Then we lost those elections very badly. And I was like, okay, I have just left my OPT in the US and my work permit in the US and moved back to India. And nobody is going to hire me after the Congress Party's wonderful performance in the 2019 Lok Sabha election. So what am I supposed to do? And I was running the Avarrsekar Fellowship up in Kashmir at that time. The abrogation of 370 happened, so that also was stalled for a fair bit. And so I ended up applying for grad school, got the Rhodes, went to Oxford.
Correct.
And then moved back and was doing a lot more work with Pinklist India, sitting in Delhi, getting those networks sort of restarted and fired up, planning on coming back to Mumbai and working.
So you said network. That is a decent part of the gig as well, right?
That's 90% of the game. In politics, that's why I say influencers are the next politicians, is because you're creating networks.
Sure.
Without networks, politics is a people game.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to survive in this industry unless you can create networks of care, networks of people who trust you. Because these are not networks that get created overnight.
Yeah.
You can't, and in politics, the strange part is competence matters less than trust. So I will hire someone I trust more than I will hire somebody who's the best at what they do.
Yeah.
Because the stakes are too high to have somebody being even mildly compromised.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to build those relationships of trust. And for me, a lot of that has been through the LGBTQ plus community. It's been through a lot of community organizing and events. It's been through the art world. It's been through literature and poetry. You know, some of the closest friends I have in politics, you know, Sumati Akka is the Chennai South MP from the DMK.
Yeah.
And the first time we met, I think we met because of Pinklist India, but we spoke about LGBT rights for like 5 minutes. And then I saw her bookcase and I was like, oh, like, what is that? And then we discussed John Donne and poetry for the next hour. And now we just chill and we like exchange poetry books every time we meet in Delhi, whenever she's in town for parliament session, etc. And we chill, we chat, we talk about poetry, and that's the way it goes. And so those are networks that are important to build.
Absolutely.
And now obviously she's very useful now. When I was trying to join the party, I was getting her advice. I was like, Sumati Akka, you know Supriyata really well. Do you think it's a good party to join? What should I do? Do you think it's, you know, a good step? I don't have a family in politics. And she said, you know, we'll become your family in politics. So this becomes a network that becomes really powerful and useful. And those networks, I'm convinced, at least now, and ask me in a while and I might be disillusioned and say that this is rubbish advice, but at least now I'm convinced that those networks don't only need to be the nefarious kind.
Yeah.
They don't just need to be like some gunda or some gang or some sort of like wheeler dealer.
That
Those
hasn't
are
been
useful
my
networks.
experience either, though. I feel like everybody in, especially the younger lot in politics, is very supportive of each other in that sense.
No, but I'm saying, you know, those are networks that you traditionally wanted to have in politics. You know, that these are the guys you need to know.
Yeah.
And I think that's changing because politics is changing. You can have good people around you as well.
Yeah.
Right.
But the thing is that they have to be willing to go out onto a limb to support you.
Sure.
Because this is not an industry where you can be paid well. So when you get a team to work for you for an election, for example, most people are not going to be able to be paid the worth that they bring to the table, the value that they bring to the table.
If you had to name a 3 a.m. friend
No,
from
you
the
are- I'm
industry,
not-
who would it be?
From the industry? ये तो Bollywood बन गया.
From the industry.
From the industry. Who's a 3 a.m. friend from the industry? No comment.
No comment. Okay
Yeah,
then.
But I mean, you were talking about your love for poetry. So, I mean, what do you make of these few lines? Like, आवाज कुणाचा, आवाज जनतेचा.
आवाज कोणाचा, आवाज जनतेचा, शारे दिशारे घुमलला, राष्ट्रवादी पुन्हा. Boss, poetry is written here. This song is the bop. This is Maharashtra's #1 hit. This is bus.
It is a great
Do you
song.
actually-
What you need
What
an
a
election?
fantastic
What you need
song.
an election?
Oh my god.
अरे राष्ट्रवादी पुन्हा आणि शरद पवार पुन्हा. अरे full remix भी आ गया इसका.
So I was actually, you know, like talking to someone who works on a lot of political campaigns, especially for the Mahayuti, and they were telling me that when they get to office in the morning, the first thing they do is listen to Rashtravadi Punha 2 times, and that's what gets their brain started
Yeah.
working, you know. So
But
I
अरे
think,
cue the song in the
Bapat
middle.
listens to Rashtravadi Punha in the car casually.
Yeah,
Casually.
as you
Like,
should.
there's
You know,
like,
my dream now, actually now I really feel bad sometimes that I'm not in electoral politics and all, and because like this is
Not
really
yet.
out of character for me.
Not
Not
yet.
yet,
do you
but
want that
also.
entry like with
Yeah, I want like one dhamal rally entry with some jhatak gana playing.
this song?
No, this and one, like, you know, everyone has their own songs.
Yeah.
My favorite songs are for Bunty Patil.
I think
Please interview
I
Bunty
think Mr.
Patil.
Avarrsekar Patil's Ambegaon is also
No,
a good song.
he's against us.
He's
No,
against-
opponent. We like
That is
when
good.
Chitra's song comes
But
to.
even the Shiv Sena
The
song,
Shiv Sena song is-
original
No, but
Shiv Sena.
Candidates, the original song, of course, yeah.
Oh my
Or
god.
It's a full.
Apne side Thackeray is a great one.
That's also a very good one.
Yeah.
But for what it's worth, maybe the Gulabi Ranga is a little much. I've worn my pink jacket for emphasis today. But Dada Vada is also good.
It's good.
That now. But you must see the Rashtravadi ad on it. We made a Hakka Maagta Maharashtra ad on it saying, तो दादाचा वादा नाही तो दादाचा वडा आहे वाडा. वादा नाही राहिला तो आता.
Who's coming up with this copywriting for you exactly?
अरे there's a Zabardast team and we had such fun on the Shiva Swarajya Yatra led by Jayant Patilji and Amol Koleji because I was there for the first tappa. We went to Zunnar and to the surrounding areas. We started from Shivneriच्या पायथ्यातून and there were these folk the theatre artists who were mocking the Mahayuti and it was a riot. कारण काय आधी ना usually before every political party's final presentation everyone is giving very boring speeches and the akha public is leaving. And now with the condition of the roads in Maharashtra you can never reach anywhere on time because खड्ड्यात रस्ते की रस्त्यात खड्डे we don't know. So the
Somebody said
potholes
this
are the
in our
signs.
previous podcast.
Yeah, because it's truly like it's impossible. It's like crater size potholes, right? And you're like, okay. And this is like Fortuner, like it's a Rangada, like, and that can't survive it. So, God bless smaller cars or bikes. But you reach there late, so you're being put in trouble. But the best part is these guys are entertaining people full on, and those have now become the ads. So, Dadache Vade are being replaced by Dhokla because of a phone call to Delhi. So, कुठे नेऊन ठेवला महाराष्ट्र माझा.
Moving swiftly along from the Vadas, I'm going to give you names of movies and I want you to tell me names of politicians that remind you of that.
Okay, हाँ चलो. This I have to get ready for.
Are you
rapid
ready?
fire. Yeah, चलो.
Godfather.
Sharad Pawar,
Catch Me If You Can.
Amit Shah,
The Iron Lady.
Indira Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi.
Fair enough. Indira or Sonia? You could-
No, but Sonia Gandhi. Far bigger iron lady. To take down Atal Bihari Vajpayee the way she did, guts.
A Beautiful Mind.
Supriya Dai.
The Wolf of Wall Street.
Better left answered, but you know who I'm thinking of.
I think so then.
Maybe leave that for the comments.
Leave that for the comments. Tell me who the Wolf of Wall Street is.
Clueless. You had one pass and you used it. Now there's no more passes for you.
Devendra Fadnavis ji.
Mona Lisa Smile.
Mona Lisa Smile?
Yeah.
That's not a movie.
It is a movie.
हे काय कुठले पण चित्रपट काढत राहतात लोक.
It's a very famous movie about art actually, and this art teacher.
About Mona Lisa
You
Smile.
have to watch it. It's great.
Okay.
Highly recommend. After the
But
interview.
now I have to tell
yeah,
Mona
now you
Lisa
have to tell
Smile.
Mona Lisa Smile. Yeah.
Who has Mona Lisa Smile? Very cold smile, na?
Yeah, like a confusing. Like you don't know what to expect of the.
And perpetual.
Yeah, like smiling, but you never know whether it's a good smile, bad smile. Are you getting in trouble? Not.
Oh.
Like that poker face, but you know.
Oh, I have someone in mind for this. You're actually the person who should know more about Jayalalitha.
Fair enough. Good answer.
Never a clue as to what she was thinking, even when she was giving you an interview.
Fair enough.
So now I'm going to give you names of a few leaders, and you have to tell me, had they not been politicians, what alternative professions would have been right for them. So first, Supriya Sure.
Yo, she's got a biotechnology degree, which I only found out very recently, and she was at Berkeley.
Yeah.
And but I think she would have made an excellent policymaker, which she is even now. You know, I think she would have made a vice chancellor of a university or
A
somebody
think
who
tank
is,
vibe.
yeah, like really a leading thinker. She would have been very good.
Okay.
Very smart.
Nitin Gadkari.
You know, he's a foodie. He would have run a great restaurant.
Okay.
I really wish he starts one day. Because he's
Yeah,
like
right now it's
the
a lot of
number one
violence.
foodie.
He's
yeah.
so passionate about
He's
it.
so passionate about food,
yeah.
you know, like I think he would do really well. And I think he would get some sutka from these two also.
Ajit Dada Pawar.
You know, Ajit Dada is actually a very good administrator. I think he would run a great company.
Okay.
He's a business. He should stick to that.
Stick to.
आता कशाला आता राजकारण झालं.
Okay. Rahul Gandhi.
Olympic athlete, because the man can walk. So, you know, the guy has tenacity.
Fair
And what he plays some sport.
Yeah.
He's very good at it.
Yeah. Some
Judo?
Some martial art, some form.
Some martial art. He's very good at that.
Omar Abdullah.
Oh, he's my favorite.
I know, which is why we put this in very specifically for you.
Done. Firstly, the fact that he's a politician is so remarkable because he's so no nonsense that he would have made an excellent journalist.
Oh, okay.
He would have made a fantastic journalist.
Okay.
And Ramdas Athawale.
I mean, he should be a poet. I think one day there will be a edited volume of his poetry, and that will be a bestseller.
That's big coming from a poetry connoisseur.
I'm telling you, you underestimate the guy. He's amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, fantastic.
And poetry never goes out of relevance, and Ramdas Athawale ji never goes out of relevance.
Also
True.
very true.
Very
So, you know, he's never, always relevant.
Yeah.
This or that.
Oh,
Tea or
that.
coffee?
Oh. It's a very zabardast question, but I am now just too dependent on my coffee.
Fair enough. Morning
Black
person
coffee.
or night owl?
Night owl.
That was easy now.
Yeah.
Teens or 20s?
70s, I'm waiting. Please.
Road trips or airplane travel?
Airplane. I hate cars.
Really?
No Fortuner travel.
Oh my god.
Hate
okay.
cars. Train. Bullet train. Please. I hate airports. I don't want 3 hours of security. I always miss my flight.
So train is actually the number one.
Train is number one.
Okay. Books or movies?
Books.
Vada pav or misal pav?
Misal pav.
What is your favorite one?
That
Pune.
नाही पुण्यातली नाही ठाण्यातली
मामलेदार.
मामलेदार मिसळ. I'm kidding. Are you mad? My stomach
I
can't.
was like, what?
There's one very nice misal shop outside. I can't remember its name now. Next to Congress Bhavan in Pune.
Yeah.
In that old one of those gullies. I've had the best misal there.
But I'll take you to even better ones. Next time you're in Pune.
I
I'm
want
done.
the name of this place also. Though.
Done.
We'll do some research. Columbia or Oxford?
Columbia. New York City. I'm a city boy. I told you I hate
Come
nature.
on, fair. Yeah.
I went to Oxford, people were going on a walk.
The Cotswold, how can you not?
They went on a walk.
Yeah,
I
even
was like,
I've been
why
there, it's
meadow?
beautiful.
Kashala, काय करायचंय meadow मध्ये?
Sweet or spicy?
Spicy.
Sobo or Banda?
Sobo.
The question was Pune or Mumbai, but for you, we'll add Delhi. Pune, Mumbai or Delhi?
Mumbai, Jai Maharashtra.
Jai Maharashtra. Indeed. So our next round is called the ballot box. Where
Already?
Yes.
Acha.
There is where you pick out a chick.
I pick out. अरे ballot box मध्ये टाकायचे असतात.
So this is a different kind of ballot
Acha.
box. There
Yeah,
is, you see
take
it's
a chick from the ballot box.
it's transparent as well.
Unlike our electoral
There is-
processes,
Exactly.
because,
So this is
bring back paper ballots. This is why. Because they are more transparent than
that
EVMs.
was not the point of
You
doing
know.
a ballot box. I am just clarifying once again.
I am just saying.
Anish is
political
going to
statement
get me
has been made over
in
here.
10 kinds of trouble by the end of this podcast.
I am making sure you can interview nobody except for Mahavikas Aghadi after this. Because why
I am
you don't
glad that he has said his sinister intentions out on camera. So I've saved a little bit. Pick
Chalo.
one and read what's inside it. And then you can speak about that topic.
Very nice. Mental health.
Okay.
Now, this has been a subject I am very passionate about because I believe that everyone in politics needs therapy. Just like everyone needs therapy.
Yeah.
Because you have to be very, very brave to do this without therapy because you will fail, crash, and burn miserably, especially if you're a queer person. But the reality is that when you bring sort of LGBTQ plus rights into the mainstream, when you sort of bring conversations around other minoritized identities into the mainstream, you automatically bring mental health also into the mainstream.
Sure.
And what you have to now focus on is how do you get a focus on these identities to translate into effective policy actions that benefit everybody.
Yeah.
Now the reality is today, you have a mental health crisis, not just in India, but across the world,
Yes.
right? And you are completely and utterly unable to deal with it. In Maharashtra, you don't have a single Marathi mental health helpline that is 24/7. One of the first things that I'd asked for, and this is how I actually became friends with Supriya Tai, is because after we spoke at a conference together, she took me to meet Ajit Dada when he was Deputy Chief Minister in a different avatar, to get a transgender welfare board and a helpline for young queer kids in Marathi because we didn't have one there.
Okay.
And that was a proposal passed in 5 minutes. And hopefully will be revived when the Mahavikas Aghadi comes back to power.
Okay.
But the important point there was that mental health needs to become a focus issue and a political issue.
Yeah.
One way of doing that is through good people in politics.
Sure.
The other way of doing that is through good voters who hold politicians accountable.
Yeah.
I think for too long we've been told that there are only some questions that can be asked to politicians.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, about water, electricity, potholes. Why can't you ask them about mental health? The next time somebody is coming to a housing society to campaign, as a young person, you have every bloody right to be there. You're also a voter.
Yeah.
Why only the colony uncles need to go sit there and raise their grievances? No, I don't want to care about their grievances only.
Fair.
Like, why is mental health not an issue?
Yeah.
Why is environmental rights not an issue? Why is public transport not an issue? Why is the safety and security at bus stands not an issue? These are questions that we have to now start asking, but also now voting on. The minute you get people to focus on mental health as a political issue is when you will actually have trained therapists at every single government hospital.
Yes.
The minute you start taking mental health seriously is when you'll actually get health insurance companies to cover mental health under their insurance coverage.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous today that people have to pay 3,000 rupees for a therapy session.
Yeah. At the least.
At the least. And we're okay with it. So we're saying that mental health is only for the rich.
Yeah.
That's not a sustainable way forward.
Absolutely.
And so these are conversations that I hope will take place politically.
Okay.
But I also think it's something that you take very, very seriously individually. And I think therapy is number one suggestion that I give to everybody. I'm like, boss.
You don't buy into this entire narrative of if to need a therapist, you have to have a problem.
No, do you go to the gym only when you have a problem? Do you stop going to the
That's
gym
very well
after
put.
you've reached a certain point? All the gym bros are, you stop going to the gym or what? If you don't stop going to the gym just because you've gotten to a certain level of fitness, you don't stop going to therapy just because you've gotten better.
Correct.
You might need less therapy
Yeah.
because you're doing fairly better. But thinking of therapy as something you go to only in a time of extreme distress is silly.
So it's not remedial. It's like you should do it.
I honestly think to me, one needs to be taken far less seriously than most people take it on both sides. That, oh my God, you're so like ill that you need therapy, or oh my God, my therapist said this, so I must do this. Both terrible idea.
Okay.
A therapist is a nice sort of sounding board who is paid to not judge you.
Yeah.
Should be used as such. Offering advice from time to time, but not necessarily always. Allowing you to think out things that you might not otherwise.
And shouldn't be a crutch for you
Yeah,
to
exactly,
have to go back to. Yeah.
But it's the best therapists are the ones who give the least advice. They're allowing you to come to the solution on your own. And there's someone who know you
Yeah.
because of a longer sort of duration of that relationship. I've had the same therapist now for what? 10 years. 2014 onwards. On and off. Not necessarily that I go once a week, every week for forever.
Absolutely.
But when I go now, the same therapist knows
Your entire context and backstory
exactly.
and everything.
The 10-year
of course.
story plus the sort of rhythm
The
of
growth,
that. Correct.
your
But also
pattern.
like, oh, like I'm feeling nervous, anxious about this. You also felt about this. There's a pattern.
Yeah.
Right.
They can see patterns that you can't. So I think mental health is incredibly important, both the personal level, but more at the institutional level. We cannot keep mental health this sort
an
of
individual choice.
walled off privilege choice.
Fair enough.
So, lastly, we would like to conclude with getting to know what your dream is, or what is it that you would like to achieve in your political career.
I have achieved, no. I became national spokesperson. So much dream achieved. Bas, abhi khush hai yaar.
There is, come on.
But something
Give us a little bit more.
like Prime Minister of India.
Prime Minister, no, I'll tell you the one dream I've consistently had. I don't know if it's achievable. I don't know if I'm cut out for it. I don't even know if it's a viable dream now. I have desperately wanted to be a corporator.
Oh, okay.
I have just genuinely never wanted to be anything else in politics. I've never had the desire to be an MP. I've never been fascinated by parliament. I've never had the desire to be an MLA. I've never definitely wanted to be a minister. Sounds like too much work. But I have definitely always wanted to be a corporator. Because I want to be in a nice neighborhood where everyone recognizes me as I walk down. And like, Kashat mama, Kashat kaku, what's up? What are you doing? They're not be like, the street
Anish,
light
can you
is
do this
fixed.
as Prabhadevi right now or notice the
Can
question?
we expect
No,
you?
I'll do it here.
So can we expect you to be contesting in next year's BMC election?
टिकट देगी तो हम तो राजी है अगर पार्टी बोलेगी तो हम लड़ेंगे but no I think that's a bigger question yeah let's see अभी तो that's a little far away but I think that level of governance is what I would like to see highlighted more.
Grassroots level.
More is not grassroots, yeah. Like if you're a cooperator for this ward, which is 225, you're in charge of Asiatic Library, Mumbai University, Gateway of India. Like, you're doing the most important stuff in this city.
Yeah.
You're governing whether or not people can get to work on time. You're seeing how cultural institutions are revitalized, rebuilt, transformed. You're really becoming a part of the fabric of the city. And what you want to do as MLA, sit in that Vidhan Bhavan all the time. It's not even a really pretty building. Look at the BMC building. So pretty, so nice. What a great office to go to.
I love how this is part of the reasoning in the logic.
100%. 100%. Aesthetics are very important considering.
This is the only politician ever that has said, मेरे को इधर काम करने का है, बहुत अच्छा building है.
हाँ, the नया parliament building also looks hideous. It is leaking.
There are problems with it, yes.
The Vidhan Bhavan is not that great.
The Vidhan Bhavan is lovely. Anish.
It looks like a jello ka
It is-
building.
Come on. It is the...
It looks like a jelitsa mold.
Your party is going to
So let them go now.
help you for saying that the Vidhan Bhavan looks like a jelly
But it looks like it. No, why? It's okay. We can appreciate it's got very nice postmodernist architecture, very good, very lovely.
Don't you think?
Arey, khub chan, but I don't want to go there.
I like
I'm sorry, please compare it to the BMC office.
built it by I mean,
Did you not build the Vidhan? इतना defend कर रही है. Look at the BMC one. It's so nice. Restored also recently. They give tours now.
Beautiful. That part of Bombay
Yeah.
has some stunning architecture. Okay, we have understood the real reason for Anish Gawande's street plan.
The street lighting.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the road and the potholes.
And the potholes are not there in Mumbai so much.
We have decent.
We actually do have lots of potholes. I can't see that. Potholes are also there in Mumbai. Please don't vote for Eknath Shindeji's government because he promised to fix the potholes, but he has not fixed them. But are potholes and all later? That's not what I'm interested in. I want street lighting to be nice. See, now
Safe.
that pipe,
I
can you
think
see
there's
that
so much
exposed
that can be
pipe?
done for
See, that
beautification.
exposed pipe was not-
Aesthetics.
Aesthetics.
Yeah.
You know, the one time where I agreed with Raj Thackeray ji is when he said, "Yeah, Rajkarnat कोणाला aesthetics ची पडलीच नाही."
But I agree with him.
And I also agree.
Yeah.
I fully
I'm like, good. But you do something about it, na? Instead of just fielding your candidates against
You come
us.
from this entire art sort of background.
हा पण त्यांनी जर आता काय करायला पाहिजे त्याच्याबद्दल. त्यांची नाशिकमध्ये एक सत्ता होती महानगरपालिकेत, जास्ती काय झालं नाही. So we saw what happened
Not
there.
too much beautification of Nasik done.
No, a little too much beautification, but not aesthetic beautification. Just one point I want to highlight over here because this is very important and why we need cooperators. Have you seen what they have done to Bandra Fort?
No.
It is a beautiful stone fort.
Yeah.
They have put plaster all over it.
Really? I know that.
Yeah. God bless Ashish Shelarji and his plans for beautification of Bandra. They have put plaster. Chuna. White. Yeah. That's why we need cooperators.
No, we do need cooperators. We spoke about this even on
Yeah.
another podcast recently.
Because otherwise.
Yeah, very important. Okay, guys, this has been a wonderful learning lesson with Mr. Gawande. Thank you
Please, Anish, bola. Yaar, काय Mr. Gawande?
for giving us.
I actually want
Anish
one question.
Bhau- Anish Bhau
No,
Gawande.
no. So that is a very good question. Now, आता, what is the suffix that you have to give me? ना? लोकांनी दिलं पाहिजे ना आणि लोकतंत्राने
Anish Bhau Gawande. Because we can't go with like a Anish Mama type thing.
नो अनिश मामा काय बनवते माझं अनिश दादा पण आता तो एकच दादा अजित दादा
Anish Dada. I think Dada, yeah, for you and your party, I don't know if it. But actually, there's now an opening for Dadas in your party.
That's true actually. Is anyone else a dada in NCPSP?
Rohit Dada.
हो रोहित दादा
ठीक है.
I think Anish Bhau is
Anish
good.
Bhau right now is good.
Yeah.
भाऊ makes me seem very
Anish
old.
Anna. Anish Anna Gawande.
No, Anna is good.
Where you made me Anna over here now?
Anish and Anna, but to be fair, it could have been a pet name, you know.
There is that car number also that they do with Anna, right? Some 31.
In case you're buying a
something
car,
like
you
that.
can do that.
Yeah.
I don't know how to drive, so I'm not buying a
It's okay,
car.
your car can still have.
हाँ.
There's
number.
even I don't know how to drive.
Yeah.
But what?
I believe in public transport. I want to not take a car anywhere. Yeah,
To where?
because in Delhi.
In Delhi.
इकडे काय घेणार आम्ही आमची मेट्रो अजून बांधतातच आहेत मुंबई इज अपग्रेडिंग वेन
When is a good question.
But on that note, thank you very much.
Thank you,
very
Anish
much.
Bhau Gawande, ladies and gentlemen.
I have been christened.
Yes.
Until the next time.
Until the next time. We'll run Anish Dada as
We'll
well.
do
We'll run.
Market research. Please tell other options.
Guys, we're going to do a poll. Y'all can please drop in your suggestions.
Yeah.